The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the real Jewites, or the so-called white man. Yeah, they are the ones that to the Most High. And so the back history on that is that when you look at in the Bible, you get history of these people. You know what I mean? You have to, in order to understand who the chosen people are, you're probably gonna have to just go and look at the history of it. And all you have to do is go. You can go right in Genesis 25, and you can get a background of why and the reason. Like you will find out the gender and the purpose of the reason why the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the real Jews who were hated. First and foremost, you have to describe who those enemies are, who that enemy is. That one nation, one nation. You go and you look at Isaac and Rebekah, and you may be asking, who is Isaac? Isaac is the progenitor of the so-called 12 tribes, which are the chosen people that came out of that nation. So, first and foremost, Rebecca, she was barren. She couldn't have no children. So she entreated the Most High. So she had children. So Isaac and Rebecca came together and they got it on. They had children. So it was two nations was in the womb of Rebecca. Now understand, one nation was the nation of the progenitor of the so-called white race, which is the European, which is the so-called, they call them the Edomites. And Esau means wasted away. And so that nation was created to rule the planet and the earth over the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So these nations of people, as the nation of Esau, went all over the world and conquered, stole, and took other people's stuff. So those nations were the rulers. So the Israelite nation were the ones that came into that was under the rulership of the power of Esau. So we would have to serve that nation, and we end up going into captivity. And that when we went into captivity, that nation ended up serving us. You see, I mean, we end up serving them, that nation. And because we end up serving that nation, the reason, because we disobeyed the Most High's commandments, we went away from His will, His statutes, and His commandments, and His ordinances and stuff. So according to Deuteronomy, just breaking it down, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 49, He said that He would send our enemy against us, which is the so-called which is the so-called white man, the so-called Hamites, Edomites. He would send that nation after us because we have not fully followed. We have not fully followed the Most High. We have not did that. So He allowed our enemies to come into power and take rulership over us. And so this is the reason why the so-called white man is shooting us down in the streets and stuff like that, because all of these things is prophesied in the biblical script. You see what I'm saying? So because of that, our nation would end up being servants to the Edomites in bondage for 400 years, according to Genesis. I think it's Genesis 17, somewhere in Genesis 15. I think it's somewhere in Genesis 15 where it says that we will be an enemy to the nation of the Edomites. And that's the reason why if you look in the Bible, the Most High, we're hated because we're Hebrew Israelites, according to the word. And you got those fake Jews over in Jerusalem. They ruling the planet over there in Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? And so we end up being driven from our own homeland. It's because the Most High prophesied and said that we will serve our enemies because we broke the laws and the statutes and the commandments of the Most High. So we end up serving our enemy, which is the so-called white man. We end up serving them. You see what I'm saying? So all these things, and that's why the Israelites went into captivity for 7 years. That was part of because the nation of Israel wanted to be like the other nations around them, and they took on the customs and the traditions of the Egyptians, which is the Hamites. This is the reason why you look in Deuteronomy, and you will find out that where it talks about it will confuse you if you don't read the context, because you would think that, oh, Hamites can be saved. You would think that Hamites can have salvation and things of that nature. No, what it was saying was is that Israel went into captivity, and because they were serving the other nations, and because they wanted to be like all the other nations outside of the chosen Israelites, they end up taking on the forms, and they end on taking on this on that custom of a Hamite. They became a Edomite because they was taking on them customs and stuff. In Deuteronomy 23, it talks about that, how because they wanted to serve the other nations and stuff like that, because they're disobedient, they had to serve the other nations, because that was their consequence for straying away from the Most High's commandments. So he ended up putting us into bondage, and we ended up serving those nations and stuff. And so that's where we became Edomites. You know what I mean? The Israelites became the Hamites. That's where that word Hamite come from, is because we took on these proverbs and bywords and stuff like African American, coon, and all that kind of stuff. Those are not our real names, bro. Our real names are Hebrew Israelites. We're not what they call us niggers and coons and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verses 37, 28 and verse 37 in Deuteronomy, it says, and you will become a proverb and a byword amongst all the nations. So that's the reason why the Most High said that he had to go into all of the other countries when he gonna have to do the separating, because Israel is scattered in every parts of every country. You see what I'm saying? But most people don't take time and read the context in Acts chapter 2, because they was thinking that the Most High was calling even the enemies and all of those people is to be saved and all that. No, it says that everybody came to speak in their own language. Every nation from every quarter, they came out. It was talking about the Israelites, how they came together and they got on one accord. You see what I'm saying? Things of that nature. So that's what had happened, man. So you have to take time and actually read that stuff in the context to actually see exactly what was said and what was going on. You see what I'm saying? So that's what you have to do. Because we have been fooled, we have been bamboozled, we have been tricked with all these different things telling us that we are, we are coons and bywords and all that kind of stuff, stuff of that nature. You see what I'm saying? So we're none of that stuff. So we Israelites, that's why we're hated so much. You see what I'm saying? And this is all throughout the whole Bible. This is throughout the whole Bible. All you have to do is just read everything in context, and it will tell you. You see what I'm saying? Everything in context, it will tell you that. Now, a lot of people, they don't want to actually deal with nothing like that, because this stuff here deals with our history, and a lot of people don't want to learn who they are and don't want to learn their history. They don't want to learn who they is. You see what I'm saying? They just don't want to learn who they are. So we have to be willing to learn who we are. You see what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be speaking some more on that. I'm trying to educate myself on that some more. You know what I mean? Because when you point things out in black and white like that, you got some people that's still going to rebel. You got some people that's not going to accept it. So when you look around, you see the people of Libya. All those people, they are not Israelites. You know what I mean? Libya, Ethiopia, Africans, and the Canaanites, and all those nations. He said, do not take a Canaanite to be your to be a wife. Don't take on that seed, but only take on the seed of Israel. You see what I'm saying? And all of this is throughout the New Testament too, as well. It's all in the New Testament. It tells you in Acts. And did y'all know that Paul, the Apostle Paul, was a Benjamite? He was an Israelite as well. You see what I'm saying? But a lot of people, where they really get thrown off at is that they feel like the Gentiles is the non-Jew that the Most High talking about. No, a Gentile simply means a non-Jew, a non-Israelite. But he was not talking about a non-Israelite. He was only talking about Israel if they are. He was talking about the Israelites that are that was circumcised. He's not talking about the person who is a non-Israelite. They can become a Jew. No, he's not saying that. He's dealing with bloodline. So I want people to remember that the Most High is dealing with bloodline. He's not dealing with color. He's not dealing with color. He's dealing with the spirit. Like a lot of people will read that and they go like, oh well, we can become spiritual Jew. You see what I'm saying? But he was talking about we are Jews by nature. He's not saying that you can be a Jew. He's not saying that the Egyptians can be Jews. You see what I'm saying? He's not saying that. He's not saying that. He's only talking about the Israel who is a natural born Jew. But a lot of people feel like he's talking about a spiritual Jew as well. No, he's not talking about a spiritual Jew. I mean, a physical Jew. He's not talking about the outside nation can become a spiritual Jew. Just like a Chinese cannot become an African. He can't be no African. He can only be Chinese, right? Like what else? Just like a East Indian man cannot become Israelite, a physical Israelite. No matter where he's born at, it's like an apple tree. No matter where you plant an apple tree at, no matter where you plant that apple tree, there's still gonna be an apple tree. You can plant an apple tree in Libya. That apple tree is still gonna be an apple tree. I don't care where you plant it. It's not gonna change the nature of that tree. You see what I'm saying? It would be just like if my mother or my father went off and they had me in Britain somewhere. I'm still gonna be who I am. I'm not gonna change. You know what I mean? Because of what, you know what I mean? It's not gonna change the genealogy of where I come from. It's not gonna change that. So a Jew, a person who is a non-Jew cannot become a Jew by nature. You see what I'm saying? He's only what he is by nature. By nature, if they was born a non-Jew by nature, then they're going to stay a non-born Jew by nature. They're not going to be able to become a spiritual Jew by nature because it's not going to be in their nature to do so. Because the Most High created them is to be your enemy. So your enemy cannot be the white man. He can't be your friend. He can't be no godly man because the Most High didn't make the white man a godly man. He is what he is. That's how come he's shooting you down us down in the streets. A person that's from China cannot come over here and all of a sudden he can be an African person. He cannot be not by blood. He can't because he is what he is. If he was a Egyptian, cannot come over here and all of a sudden he come over here in this land. All of a sudden he can say he's an Israelite spiritually. No, he can't do that. He can only be an Israelite by nature. That's right. You can't change that, right? Just like me. No matter where my mother, my father went and had me at, they would have went over in China and had me over in China. Guess what? I would still look like? I still would look like Clarence. I'm not going to change for who I am. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to change that nature. My nature is still going to be the same. So if you was created to be evil and wicked, and you are non-Jew by blood, because see, the Most High goes by bloodline. You see, oh, by the way, let me say this here. Why? I know it's one person on here. On my first account, Clarence Ray YouTube, for some reason they not letting me go live, and I think it's kind of ignorant because they're saying that I have too many live streams, and I'm like, well, it's your YouTube account, you should be able to do it. So I don't know, you know with that, you know what I'm saying? I guess when you saying controversial things, you are going to consider it to be the enemy. You're going to be the target. You see what I'm saying? You're going to be that. You're going to be all of that. You know what I mean? But when you're trying to wake your people up and stuff like that, a lot of people, they'll pull out quick. They don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? But you are what you are. I tell you what, take an apple tree and go over in Libya, in the city of Libya, and plant that apple tree and see as though the fruit going to be of a Libya fruit or of a Jamaican fruit. Because, you know, Jamaican, they have their own type of cornbread style, right? They have their own type of food. The food tastes different because I done had Jamaican food before. It tastes different from the regular, what they call the so-called America, which is so-called America is white supremacy over here in America, right? It's different. You see what I'm saying? So if you go over in and over there in Libya, I mean in Jamaica, and you try to like plant take cornbread from over here and take it over there, it's going to taste different. It's going to taste weird to them. So Jamaican cornbread is Jamaican cornbread. Over here in the so-called America, cornbread is American cornbread. You see what I'm saying? You can't take a fruit tree, from over here in America and go over there and say, and the fruit that looks like American fruit over here, and go over there in Jamaica, and they still gonna be the same, because you can't switch them up. Because it's, no matter how much you wallet that fruit amongst other stuff, guess what that fruit's still gonna be? It's still gonna be an apple tree. You can plant that apple seed in Libya. Guess what's gonna come up? Apples. It's still gonna be the same apple tree. My mother and my father could have went to where? They could have went to Libya and had me. Would that make me Libya because I was born and raised over in Libya? No, I'm still the bloodline of I'm gonna say a Israelite. I'm still gonna be that bloodline, no matter what. That's like taking. Let me give you another example. If you take pork and you boil pork, you boil it in water, and you boil, no matter how much salt you boil out of it, guess what it's still gonna be? It's still gonna be pork, right? It's not gonna change. It's not gonna change that meat from being pork. It's not gonna all of a sudden change from pork because you boil the salt out of it and it's gonna become beef. It is what it is. You can't take human meat, kill a human, and then turn it and boil it, and then all of a sudden it's gonna become chicken. It's not. It's still gonna be human meat. That's the same way it is when it comes down to a spiritual Jew versus a physical Jew. A person who is a Egyptian, no matter how much they try to become a spiritual Jew by nature, in bloodline, in blood, in the physical blood, DNA, they're still not going to be able to change their DNA and make it be an Israelite DNA blood. They're not going to be able to do it. So I feel like I done said enough for right now, but I'll be back and we're going to chop it up some more and we'll talk. I'll do this here once I get home. Peace. I'm out.